Hello everyone, and welcome to In Case You Missed It for the 17th of July, 2022. I don't usually cover celebrities, but we're going to start with Johnny Depp being seen around with a cute redhead. The man just keeps winning. So, congratulations, Johnny Depp. I just had to mention that. Moving on, Alex Stein, the conspiracy theorist internet troll, as he's been dubbed by the mainstream media, had an encounter with AOC. Take a look.
AOC, my favorite big booty Latina. I love you, AOC. You're my favorite. She wants to kill babies, but she's still beautiful. You look very beautiful in that dress. You look very sexy. Look at that booty on AOC. That's my favorite big booty Latina.
I want to do a little selfie.
I love it. My favorite AOC. Nice to meet you, AOC. Look how sexy she looks in that dress. Woo, I love it, AOC. Hot, hot, hot like a tamale.
Despite her former brag that all Republicans wanted to sleep with her, the rep from New York was not very pleased about this, and of course, as you can expect, the media had a field day. Now all Republicans are clearly sexual harassers, according to them, and, you know, it was worth it for the troll. It was a great troll. Let's just all agree. That was one of the best trolls I've ever seen. Moving on to much more serious news, the assault weapons ban of 2021 is ready to be voted on in the House this upcoming week on the 20th. I'm just going to list really quick all of the things that this bill would make unlawful, because it essentially means that any modern manufactured weapon would be illegal. Here's the list of restrictions. All semi-automatic rifles that can accept detachable magazines and have at least one of the following features: pistol grip, forward grip, folding telescoping or detachable stock, grenade launcher, barrel shroud, or threaded barrel. All semi-automatic rifles with fixed magazines with the capacity to accept more than 10 rounds, bump fire stocks, and any part, combination of parts, component, device, attachment, or accessory that's designed for functions that to accelerate the rate of fire that a semi-automatic rifle has but not convert it to a machine gun. All semi-automatic pistols that can accept detachable magazines and have at least one of the following features: threaded barrel, second pistol grip, barrel shroud, capacity to accept detachable magazines at some location outside the pistol grip, or a semi-automatic version of an automatic firearm. All semi-automatic shotguns that have at least one of the following: a folding, telescoping, or detachable stock, pistol grip, fixed magazine with the capacity to accept more than 5 rounds, ability to accept a detachable magazine, forward grip, grenade launcher, shotgun with revolving cylinder, high capacity, quote-unquote, feeding devices with magazine strips or drums capable of accepting more than 10 rounds. This is the most extensive gun legislation I've ever seen, and it is kind of disturbing that this is even being voted on in the House. This is a clown show. I doubt it will pass the Senate, but no one is talking about this. No one. Only .gov websites. That's the only place you can find this. This is not being reported on. They're trying to take all of the guns. This is the case. There's no question. I don't usually report on the January 6th committee hearing either, because it's a freaking clown show, but this week it got interesting. A former Oath Keeper spokesman and someone who was at the riot themselves testified. Both bought in 100% to the mainstream narrative that, oh yeah, this was all Trump. Trump was the one that instigated this. Without him, none of this would have happened. As if that didn't glow enough on its own, you know, people that bought hardcore into these types of militia groups, you know, being on the same side as MSNBC, come on, that doesn't happen. A doc drop was made from an informant in the FBI to the Gateway Pundit that no one else has reported on. And this doc drop, which I'll have linked in the description, has a lot of evidence showing that the Justice Department and the FBI are fully aware that the people that they arrested and are holding without due process did nothing wrong. They know they were innocent. They know it, and yet they're holding them without due process. When are we going to realize that the three-letter organizations need to go? When are we going to realize that these people are doing it all for a political game? And when will the normies recognize that the January 6th committee is nothing but a gigantic circle jerk of Democrats who will do anything to prevent Donald Trump from running again, and anyone who's in any way connected to Trump to run again. Don't think that the January 6th committee is only bad for Trump. It's bad for DeSantis too, because they're going to compare them. They're going to compare them, and every kind word that Trump or DeSantis has said about each other is going to be blasted everywhere, so that you won't have a choice to vote for either of those people, which are the two most popular Republicans. It's going to be a Democrat or another Jeb Bush equivalent. That's what it's going to be. An update was released on the Uvalde school shooting. The Texas House did an extensive investigation into it and found that systemic failures by authorities had been had across the board. They said that responding officers were given and relied upon inaccurate information, some, and others had enough information to know better. What also was found in this report is that they thought there was no malice or ill motives. It was just systemic failures and poor decision making on the part of the police officers. What does this mean? What is the implication? Well, the implication is that everything that was done, talking about gun control, is focusing on the wrong institution, saying if we could regulate guns better, then all of this would change. Well, not if the police officers have the decision-making skills of a toddler. The police officers were to blame for this. This was should not even be a guns rights argument. This should be a what the hell were the police doing type of argument. They had all sorts of opportunities to stop what was going on. They just didn't. They were scared. If you're going to take a job as a police officer, you're not allowed to be scared. This is your job. This is why you're being paid. This is what you do. You're the one who needs to go in. When parents can go in and get their kids out of the school and you're just, sitting there with your thumb up your ass and you're letting children be massacred on the inside, that's a problem. That is a huge problem. Hopefully, all of these police officers are held accountable for what they did or what they didn't do that day. The story that Joe Biden told that tugged at everyone's heartstrings about the 10-year-old who had to travel from Ohio to Indiana to get an abortion because she had been raped, took a very strange turn this week. And turns out that, well, some are calling it a hoax and some are saying that it's misunderstood, but one thing is certain, it's absolutely been misrepresented. The doctor who performed the abortion on the 10-year-old was hailed as a hero on the left because they were saying that on the right, or they were saying that in Ohio, the girl couldn't get an abortion. She was refused. She was turned away, so she had to cross state lines. Well, this is not true. The girl, being 10, could not bear a baby safely, so she would have fallen under the medical emergency exceptions for abortion in the state. But even stranger was the inaccurate reporting and lack of reporting by the aborting doctor. In Indiana, she did not appropriately report a rape of a 10-year-old, a pregnant 10-year-old, got to report that. You're a mandated reporter. And originally it was reported that the rapist was a 17-year-old, which inherently changes the crime from what was the reality, a 27-year-old illegal immigrant who raped the girl, to a 17-year-old. Well, that's a minor assaulting a minor, which doesn't make it any less horrific, but it changes the nature of the crime in the eyes of the law. So when you've inaccurate reporting on the part of the doctor, well, that's an issue. And, of course, the Indiana AG said that he was going to go after this doctor as much as he possibly could. The left responded by raising over $180,000 for a legal defense fund for this doctor. So where are we at now? Well, it turns out that this, like the New York Times said, abortion story was just, quote, too good to be true for the left. It was the perfect, this is exactly what happens when you overturn Roe versus Wade, and then it turned out almost every detail given in that story was a freaking lie. How much longer can we do this? Can we just sit here and just let the media lie, and then now the average person believes something that's completely and utterly untrue, and the president of the United States is sitting there bald-faced lying to us, and we just take it at face value? Is this what we want? Does anyone do research for themselves anymore? Apparently not. Apparently that's not what we do. It's just, oh, well, I heard this on MSNBC, and Biden said this in an address, so we believe it. That's what it is. That's where we're at. This is ridiculous. Speaking of overturning Roe v. Wade, many of us have been talking about the similarities between how the Supreme Court legislated from the bench in that ruling, and they did the same thing with the gay marriage ruling in 2015. Now, let me be clear. I'm in favor of gay marriage. I think that gay people deserve the right to be married just like anybody else. I don't really particularly care if you're straight, gay, whatever. It doesn't matter to me. I'm very libertarian on this issue. But I do think that the ruling was made improperly. This is not something for the Supreme Court to do. This is something that needs to be codified through Congress if it's going to be at a federal level, or it should be kicked to the states. Now, I'm sure there's plenty of arguments on both sides of this issue, but either way, Ted Cruz made highlights. He made highlights. No, he made headlines when he said that the next thing for the Supreme Court to do was consider repealing the gay marriage ruling. This is something, part of the slippery slope that Democrats had been predicting, and this is something that I've been predicting since Roe v. Wade was overturned. I guess we'll just have to stay tuned and see what happens with that one. I sincerely doubt anything will happen, but who knows? None of us thought that Roe v. Wade was going to be overturned either for the longest time, so I guess we'll just have to see. And finishing up, we bring it back to the big booty Latina, who is with a group of House progressives who is petitioning Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer to strip the Supreme Court of its jurisdiction to rule on Roe v. Wade. They said, "We write to urge your support for restricting the Supreme Court's appellate jurisdiction in the areas of abortion, marriage equality, non-procreative intimacy, and contraception." Now, this is wonderful and all, except that, well, first of all, you don't get to restrict the Supreme Court's appellate jurisdiction. The Supreme Court interprets the Constitution and applies it to rulings that have been made. That's their job. That is their job. And the fact that these people are so salty about the Roe v. Wade thing and saying it's a government overreach is ridiculous. This is, if anything, is an underreach. The government, this is an example, which you very rarely see, of a branch of government saying, we overstepped, this isn't our place, we're going to give those rights back to the people. And that's exactly what they did. They gave it to Congress. They gave it to the states. If people want to vote in laws on abortion, and gay marriage, and all these other things, that's the way that it should work. That's the way the country is designed to work. Cortez said, "I believe impeachment should be on the table. I believe court expansion should be on the table. I believe that ethics rules should be on the table. I believe that recusal requirements should be on the table. I think all of it should be considered right now, and we shouldn't be putting any tools out because of the degree to which this court has gone rogue." I corrected her grammar error there, by the way. But the point is, she's having a fit. This is Ocasio-Cortez having a little hissy fit because there was a ruling made that she disagrees with. What about the half the country that is happy that this happened? This is why this is a states' rights issue. This is why it's something that needs to go through Congress, because the Supreme Court ruling on this is inappropriate. It's totally inappropriate. And they pulled back from it. They said, it's inappropriate for us to make this ruling. So how has this gone rogue? This is them saying, we can't make the ruling, so we're going to hand it off to Congress. This isn't them making a positive ruling. This is kind of like the asking an atheist to prove that God doesn't exist, right? An atheist will just tell you, well, I don't believe that God doesn't exist. I just don't believe he does exist either, because neither of those statements are provable. And this is kind of what the same thing the Supreme Court did. They're not saying that, this is definitively something that you can't do. They're just saying we can't rule that this is something that you have a right to. And they're right. This is out of their jurisdiction. That's about all for today. You can follow me on Twitter at SeattleIJ, like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys next time.